I'm Britton LaRue, and this is Moon to Moon. Moon to Moon is a space to consider, celebrate, and share the ways we come home to ourselves, anchor through change, and uncover our power. 1 month, one phase, one loving step at a time. Dear Moon to Moon, it's Britton, and I am recording this under a moon in Capricorn. It is a dark moon, and it's my moon's sign, Moon in Capricorn. Jupiter is rising in the east as I speak, welcoming the dawning of Jupiter this day. And excited to be under this dark moon with you. I know many of you love these episodes. It's a miracle to me, and it's a wonder to me. It's so beautiful that something that feels so good to create and to share is something that feels so good for you to receive. I love talking to you as I talk to myself and let what wants to roll through me roll on through. I have a theme today. I have a loose set of things I might want to add or weave in, but I don't even know if I'll look at those notes. The theme under this dark moon is my medicine is malefic. My medicine is malefic. This is a naming and a claiming that is not brand new for me. It has been my whole story of this path that I walk today. This path that in many ways began with a no, which is one of the most malefic things that you can say, which is one of the most malefic spells you can offer, which is a no, which makes the way for your yes to come towards you. So what I'd like to do is just riff and we'll find out what happens. I hope you enjoy this one. I hope that for those of you who are craving for this, longing for this, dreaming of this, that it will feel delicious and that it will alchemize however it wants to. I have found it to be true that I, at a spirit level, I'm a very benefic human being. I have very benefic dreams for myself and for the world, for humans, for our planet, for our universe. And learning to embody my malefic nature skillfully has been a healing practice. And I feel that I tend to magnetize those benefic beings who desire to feel more skillful at embodying their malefic nature, because some part of us knows that it's important. So maybe that's you. I'm going to begin with some definitions, because that's always so helpful. First of all, when I say my medicine, this is a word that I've had to kind of throw away and come back to. If you've been in some of my containers, you may have heard me talk about putting words on a meat hook, the way Ereshkigal put her sister Anana on a meat hook in the ancient Sumerian myth. In order for that word to die to what I thought it meant and let it reanimate with new life through the alchemy of letting go of what I attached to it. And for a long time, I felt like saying that I have medicine was like toxic, that it was posturing, that it was not a thing that I'm allowed to call my work, that only other people are allowed to say about my work. And all of that process was really important. It was important for me to like die to the dream of the importance of my medicine so that I could come to the importance of my medicine. This just happens, you know, because it's like letting go of the attachments allows the thing to show you what it is, you know. And I really believe that we all have medicine. I don't think that it's a thing that some people can say that they have. I think that we're all healers and that we all have medicine. But in this life, there's this, there's a degree to which it's important for us all to move through an initiation where we let go of our attachments to being a healer in order to come into feeling more aligned, more confident in saying, yeah, I am. Because I'm not attaching to it what I thought that meant and trying to be that thing that I thought it was. I just see that it's true. I can't help but notice that, you know, and I'm not attached to how that looks for somebody else. And so when I say my medicine, I'm coming from that place of like, I now know that I offer things that might feel to someone like medicine, in the sense of it feels like what is needed. It feels like where there's a longing is being met in some way. And I'm not someone who's super attached to what that might look like for someone, because for my medicine to work, I need to release my expectations or attachments around what that happens as it reaches you, so that you can be the one who is holding that process. And then I'm able to stay in my zone of being with what wants to move through me, which is the medicine that presumably someone maybe like you is seeking. And when you feel nourished, when you feel complete with my particular medicine, then I also can trust that you will move on. And if you ever miss it, or if you feel like it's alive in you to come back, then you can come back. But all of that process is your own thing, and I'm over here staying with the way the medicine wants to move through me. My medicine is for me as much as it is for anyone else. It's the experience of me being connected to myself that in many ways is probably what the medicine is. So what I've been learning is that my medicine has a strong benefic aspect, let's be clear, but it's also it's got a malefic quality that is undeniable, that's always surprising me and teaching me new things and delighting me with how it wants to show up as I grow in my understanding of myself and my medicine. So let's talk about these vocab terms. So as you may know, astrology is many things, and one of the things that it is that I like to say is a language. I think this is one of the reasons that it was very attractive to me when I found it, because I have Jupiter in Gemini, which is kind of like having your teacher in the foreign language department, because in many ways Gemini is about talking and tongues, and I have always been the biggest nerd for languages. Like by 5 or 6 years old, I was declaring that I was going to be fluent in French and that I was going to go live in France, like to anyone who wanted to ask me. And I always wanted to create immersive environments for myself to get stronger at learning French. I also liked learning other languages. I am kind of dabbled in many other languages. I've had many, many dear friends who are not English as first language. Like, it's just kind of unusual, the number of very close friends in my life from other countries who teach me about their tongue. And it's just something that really excites me, both intellectually, and I think there's something at a spirit level that I also just find very exciting, because words expand our experience. And astrology is a language. There are vocab terms. And I recognized this very early on. So it was always really important to me to name this and to speak to how learning astrology is in many ways similar to learning a foreign language. It can be very frustrating when you're first learning, because you want to get it right, but there's like so many new words and you're trying to keep them straight. And then you're trying to figure out how to put words into a grammatical sentence. Like you're trying to learn how to just kind of clumsily speak something. And it takes a while till you come to that fluency where you're making inside jokes, you're riffing, you're comparing things to other things that you know, and you're feeling like you're making the way you speak astrology this kind of like clever play on who you are. You're letting it become an extension of who you are. And so when one speaks astrology, I like to speak from a place of trusting that any level can receive what I'm speaking. As long as I tease out some of the major vocab points, then I would ask of you, dear beginner, if you are a beginner, to trust that listening to astrology immersively, like surrounding yourself with it, it can feel to the logical brain like you're not getting it, which can feel frustrating. And I invite you to trust that there are many parts of you who are receiving beyond your logical brain, and that there are parts of you who are understanding, and to listen to those parts of you as well, where you're like, I can't keep track of what that means, but I feel what she's saying in my body, That's the more important understanding that we're going for. So malefic is a term that partners with benefic, which are adjectives that we give planets. They get one or the other. And there's different nuances to how benefic or malefic a planet is. But the general idea is that Venus and Jupiter in particular are the benefic planets, in that they land softer. They tend to bring things that our brain and body register as comfortable or good or abundant or pleasurable. And they create connectivity and connection so that we feel like this kind of unity, this unity with other beings, this unity with the pulsing of life. And human beings like that feeling for the most part. It tends to be what we would call like good feeling, like category good feeling, is like the Venusian and the Jupiterian, or like good outcome, good experience. And you can tell that like benefic relates to the root like beneficial, meaning good. Malefic is from the same root, mal, of like maladaption, maleficent, Draco Malfoy. It was like, you can see how authors will use these roots to suggest a meaning and trust that your subconscious heard that. Or maybe your conscious parts did too. But malicious, right, is like a negative, like a bad. And so the malefic planets we most associate with Mars and Saturn. And we associate these planets more with experiences that create contraction, constriction, pain or pointedness, hard angulars, separations. And so human beings think about malefic experiences, malefic outcomes as bad. So of course, you may be thinking about good, bad as relating to my project of unshaming, which many of you listening have probably, if you haven't come to the workshops, maybe you are aware of Unshaming the Science from Instagram, where I light shit up and talk about it. When we're in the realm of good, bad, we are going to be in a realm where shame can come up, because shame sees the world through the binary of good and bad, and is a part of us from childhood that will do everything that we can to not be bad. Like protect ourselves from being called bad, protect ourselves from being labeled bad people. And has learned to shame all desires, all dreams, all preferences, opinions, and ways of being that might be called bad. And thus we're not listening to a lot of ourselves and a lot of our truth, because it's like we block it out because we don't want to see it, because we don't want to be called bad. Like good people do this, bad people do that. So, what I have found to be true is that the malefics are so helpful and so loving, because when we throw all that shit away, the good, bad stuff, and we just look at what they help us do. Let's just throw everything that we think about the good, badness away and just look at what they do. What the malefics do is they help us to become more specific in who we are. The malefics help you become specific about who you are. And what I have found to be true, what my guides teach me, is that you are here to be as specific as possible as who you are. You are here to get specific in yourself. You are here to be specifically yourself. And so as such, whatever aspects of us help us to create those angles, to help us to cut out that which is not who we're here to be, that which helps us to become as specific as possible in the frequency of who we are, that's fucking helpful. That's fucking helpful. Thank you, malefics. I love you, Saturn. I love you, Mars. So much. There are many things that make this difficult for us that are not your fault. One of these is the fact that we live in a culture that wants us to be as standardized as possible. We are living in a culture that has been teaching us, programming us, and conditioning us to obliterate our funky differences. That has been saying, these templates, good, everything else, bad. Can everybody please try to be these templates? If you can't get into these templates, then what are you even doing here? There's so much violence to this. There's so much pain. There's so much harm into this idea that we're all supposed to become these standardized templates for success. For many, it's impossible because that's just not what their body looks like. It's not the way their brain works. It's not the way they were here to be. And the despair here in this world from this is just, this is really harmful stuff. And so there's a radical frequency to embracing your malefic side, because it's a refusal to be a standardized template. Another thing that can make it very difficult for us to express our malefic nature is if you have been conditioned to be not difficult. If you have been conditioned to be pleasing, which is the experience of many people in women femme bodies, but I'm not going to be exclusive. It's all bodies have known this idea of like, just follow along, don't be difficult, please be pleasing. And so to assert a boundary, to assert a malefic nature, to assert like, well, that's not who I am, I'm not going along with this, is going to be something that might be met with not only minimization, oppression, but also violence, which our bodies may have internalized through trauma as an intense correction that wants us to quiet, numb out the malefic expression. So embodiment of the malefic expression for many of us, for certain, this is my story, it has been a slow process of even discovering my malefic aspects through learning how to feel more safe inside of my body in living here, which is a slow process of healing. And I've learned so much through energy and somatic healing. Another aspect that can make it very difficult to express malefic expression is our desire to not be alone, our desire to feel connected, which is what the benefics help us with, right? They help us with connecting. They help us feel connected, like we are one, we are together, we are creating unity together, we're bonding, we're merging. And so for those of us who who have the pain of abandonment or have the pain of being broken off or not attuned to or feeling isolated and separated, to this idea of expressing one's malefic side feels very, very frightening, because it feels like it could mean that you end up being alone, or like that nobody will like you, or that nobody will want to be in partnership with you because you're too pointy, you're too hard, you're too angular, you're too all of these things that are like the quote unquote negative aspects of being in relationship with someone. But what I have found to be true from my own life is that shaming my malefic side made me very bland. It made me someone who didn't know what I wanted, who didn't speak up, who didn't say my truth, who didn't let anyone know what I didn't like. And the bottom line is, this didn't help me, because no amount of my shaming what my preferences was going to make the truth of my preferences go away. And thus I had all this frustration energy, all this anger energy, all of this judgment energy, all of this competitive energy that wanted to be expressed, that wanted to go somewhere, and was just like shoved down, shoved down, shoved down. Don't speak up, But didn't make it not be there. It was still there. Sending love and compassion to my younger self, who expressed her malefic nature very unskillfully. What happens, the thing that I've learned is like, we are here to express the benefic and the malefic. The human experience is an expression of both the will towards unity and the will towards separation. And it's like, how would you like that to go? Consciously or unconsciously? Skillfully or unskillfully? And that kind of honesty is inherently malefic. Honesty is malefic. Now, of course, if you're saying, the truth is that I love you, okay, that can feel benefic. It can also feel very scary. But when we talk about brutal honesty, when we talk about like, this is my preference, this is my boundary, I would like to have that by this time. I would like this is what my price is. This is the structure of how we're going to do this. I have a hard stop at this time. My daughter can go, but here's my stipulation. Yes, I'll do this, but that, these like edges, these edges are inherently malefic, because, we're creating like stops, we're creating borders, contours, and the other person is going to have their own feeling about that. Right? So the fear is like, what if they don't like my price? What if they feel like I'm being mean? What if they think I'm being difficult? What if they think I'm being selfish for having that demand? What if they think I don't care about them? All of these questions that are usually our younger selves are asking, because they're like little children who are worried about being safe in this world. These inner children are like, is it bad? Will I be in trouble? Am I going to make mom upset? Why are you mad at me? Are you mad at me? These little children. These parts of us that the scariest thing about expressing our malefic nature is that we're going to be misunderstood, that we're going to be judged, that we're going to activate somebody else's inner child and they're going to project their anger on us, that they're going to, in their own story about our boundaries, decide they don't like us anymore. And especially like if you are a spiritual business owner, if you are someone who holds space for others, if you are in the arts of intuition and compassion and empowerment for other human beings, it can be very scary to express one's malefic nature around your offerings because there is a whole lot of baggage, especially directed at femme-bodied humans, around how your services should look and what you are and aren't allowed to express if you really care about people. And I'm telling you that all of that baggage, I release myself from because I don't agree or align with shit that has been placed on femme-bodied humans to get them to give things for free. I have found it to be true that the more exclusive I become in certain of my space holding, by exclusive, I mean raising prices, having applications, like really trying to be clear about who things are for and who they're not for. That's being exclusive, right? This is for you or it's not for you. That learning to become more exclusive has been painful for me as someone who is here for collective liberation for all beings. Like it feels like such a difficult paradox for my for many parts of me. But I have found the evidence to be in that clarifying who gets to be in the more intimate spaces, whether that's one-on-one or whether that's small capped groups like the Magician's Table, becoming very specific about the frequency of who comes in is like the most loving thing that I can do for the container, especially for the other person. Because the truth is, these more intimate containers that I want to have, that I really want to have, are very activating spaces for people that are at a certain place in their lives, and they're really not for everyone. And I can have other things that are for everyone. And many of those things are free, like this podcast. But I have to be able to allow myself to express malefically who something is not for. And part of that comes through in the price points. Because there's a certain threshold of taking things seriously, resourcefulness, commitment, investment in self, magic spell making for oneself and one's world and one's magic that I'm really calling in. And it's really not for everyone. And learning how to negotiate that as someone who is growing and growing and growing as a space holder has been like a deep journey for me, and one that I really love sharing with people who want to learn about that and who want to trust that they're not quote unquote bad people or uncaring if they become more malefic about the boundaries of some of their spaces. I have a free class that you get when you sign up for my newsletter called Abundance Begins with No. And it has a handout, a really beautiful handout. I totally forgot that this was my free gift when you sign up. Someone reminded me in Unshaming Aquarius, and I was like, oh yeah, that's some of my core teaching. Abundance begins with no. Where are the lines? We're all really learning this with Saturn and Pisces. As I say, the contours of the infinite. You cannot hold the infinite in both hands without limiting it somehow. Saturn, a malefic, helping a super benefic sign, Pisces. Yeah. So I've been feeling this so much, it's a big year for me personally. Saturn is coming up to my sun 3 times, which hasn't happened since 1994. As many of you know, the last time Saturn was on my sun, my dad died on the second pass. Saturn is father energy. And I feel myself to be in a deeply Saturnian time of growing as a provider and as a builder. And I love this part of myself very, very much. And this part of myself is calling me into deeper, deeper trust that it's safe to be as specific as possible about who I am and what I want and what I'm dreaming of and who I'm calling in, who I want to magnetize, who I want to be in space with, in deep space with. It's some powerful work. And it really reverberates, I feel this so much with my parenting. I used to parent very much from this kind of place of like, my whole job is to keep my kids happy. And so I was like bending over backwards to keep them from being unhappy and to keep them from being like mad at me. That was not very skillful. As I look back, bless my heart for not understanding. But my relationship with my daughters just gets so much juicier the more I just feel like I'm standing so tall. And as I stand so tall, I feel them want to get closer to me. And I feel them deeply respecting me. And I feel them feeling so safe because they know I'm going to speak directly and clearly and honestly. And if I say yes, it means yes. And if I say no, it means no. And they don't have to wonder, what does mom want? They don't have to wonder, what does mom want so I can make her happy? No. No, my sweet loves. Mommy makes herself happy, I'm in charge of making me happy. I'm so good. You do not have to worry about that. This is a malefic gift. It's supporting the people in your life of knowing where you are and knowing what you want. So nobody has to be guessing. Nobody has to be wondering, like, I can't tell what she wants me to do. No, I don't want my loved ones wondering for 1 second how to figure out what I want. I do not want them wasting a moment's energy on this. I'm talking about Matt. I'm talking about my daughter. I'm talking about my mom. I'm talking about my students. I'm talking about those who assist me and support me in my work. like the wondrous Samar Jade, like the wondrous Nicole France Coe, like the wondrous Erin Kelly. I don't want anybody wondering how to please me. No. I want the people in my life to feel me owning that I will express what I want. And if you're not hearing it, you don't need to worry about it. I will tell you the deadlines. I will be specific on how I want it to look. I want everyone clear. It's this clear communication. So the edges are visible. The angles are visible. Everyone knows what we're working with. No one has to feel in the trauma of confusion. And this is a practice, you know? And the truth is, like, sometimes we don't know what we want until something appears that we don't want. That is very normal, and that's not what I mean. I don't mean we become all-knowing at anticipating, but I do want to think about things like that too. So I feel that my medicine is malefic in the sense that I'm telling you who I am, you know? So you don't have to fill it in. You don't have to fill it in with question marks. Who is this person? Here it is. Here it is. Now it's up to you to decide. Do I want to work with this person? Do I want to invest in this person's work? Do I want to invest for myself in her containers? There's no question marks. Here it is, you know? And allowing myself to trust that all of that directness and the realness and the rawness and the angles, the structures that I ask for, the exchanges that I ask for, all of that is for you to let you can have your own response to it, you know? And if someone feels triggered by that directness, if someone feels triggered by that unshaming of desire, if someone feels triggered by my paradoxes, that's like really none of my business, you know, because that's maybe an intelligent process they're moving through around me. And I just want to stay over with myself doing my thing, because then you can move through your own experience around me without worrying about how I feel about that, or worrying about trying to be nice to me, or like how help me feel safe around you. You know what I mean? Yeah, I dream of this world, of a world where, because we become so specific in who we each are, we can then feel so much more bountiful and abundant and safe in our connections, in giving with one another, in being in exchange with one another, in being in relationships with one another, because we're not filling in blanks and like having these question marks around who it is that we are dealing with. You know, there's a lot of shaming these days around being specific in yourself, because for good reason, we're in a culture that's learning how we're actually all deeply connected and there's no such thing as being separated. It's really important to me to embrace the paradox of both at the same time. I have no trouble seeing how we're all one organism. Like, I'm actually wired that way. I just came to this planet feeling that extremely deeply. My chart supports this, but I don't need my chart to know that about myself. I really do see all beings as one organism. And I think that we're here to be as specific as possible in who we are. And that the more that we engage in that ongoing project, the better we will be able to be in loving one another in truth and in honesty, in realness, in an unshamed way, as we live here as one being. Both of these things can be true. I'm feeling myself coming into closure. Thank you for being here with me. I got a new review this week and it just makes my heart so happy. Thank you. Thank you, whoever what that was. Oh, if you haven't left a review, it will just make my day. Thank you. It's just so sweet. Especially, a project like a podcast. I really just do this as a gift and just send it out. And so getting those reviews, it's like I don't do it for the validation, but the validation feels amazing. Unshaming. I'm going to be back real soon with another episode. But I did want to update that Magician's Table promo is starting to come into the hot phase. It's starting to come into high sensation of decision time. I want you into this exclusive space. If you are resonant with it, this is a deeply intimate space. This is why it has an application. This is why it's a big investment. Because you are investing in yourself. It's a gulp. It's a gulp. Because it's a big fucking deal. Your life becomes divided to before TMT and after. It's just true. So there is a threshold to coming into this space. And I'm speaking to you if you belong to it. This is starting to be a warmer temperature now in the promo period. I'm inviting you in. I'm inviting you to experience yourself as a human who is applying for the Magician's Table. As a human who belongs to the Magician's Table. Even if there are parts of you who think this is a terrible idea, even if there are parts of you who say you can't do this, that you're not ready for this, that you have no business doing this, and you find yourself just going there anyway. Is there ever a good time for the Magician's Table? I'm inviting you to come closer. Let us see you. Let us witness you. The application process is part of the spell on purpose. It's something that you can look back on for the rest of your life. The you that filled that application out. It's definitely something to keep. The application. I can't wait to see you on the inside. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you just want to talk about it. Happy to talk with you about it. Sending so much love to all of you here at this dark moon. Sending love, sending love, sending love. Until next time, cheers.